Batman and the Joker, Lakers and Celtics, the Arizona Cardinals and winning. These are rivalries that have stood the test of time as they pitted two opposing sides trying to outdo the other, and with Drake and Kendrick Lamar embroiled within their own beef, I thought what a perfect opportunity to talk about my second favorite type of meat, behind chicken of course. My name is Jose Ramos Jr., and these are my top 10 WWE rivalries of all time. But before we begin my list, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to keep up to date with the pro wrestling content produced on this channel. Number 10. Hulk Hogan vs. Randy Savage. The WWE's golden era was defined by two larger-than-life characters, that being Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. These two ruled the world of professional wrestling as both WWE and Intercontinental champions, but once the Macho Man earned the company's top prize at WrestleMania 4, he began teaming with the Hulkster, thus forming the Mega Powers. In what became a slow descent into macho madness, Savage grew paranoid and jealous of his so-called friend, thus leading to his betrayal, making their title match at WrestleMania 5 feel like the ultimate explosion. What makes this year-long feud so special is some can make the argument that Savage was justified in his actions, as he claimed Hogan wanted his spot back, so he would interject himself between Savage and Elizabeth. With a sprinkle of realism regarding their real-life relationship, this made the storyline seem much more personal than it already was. Plus, it helps to have a banger of a match at WrestleMania to conclude this feud. Number 9. John Cena vs. Edge. In what could be simplified as hip-hop versus rock and roll, John Cena and Edge could be identified as polar opposites vying for the same goal, to be the top guy. Cena obviously the top babyface and Edge as the emerging heel hell-bent on solidifying his place in the history books. This rivalry led to moments such as Edge invading Cena's home and slapping his father in the face so hard it matched the level of force of a Gunther chop. It also saw Cena throw Edge into the polluted waters of the Long Island Sound. And of course, who could forget Cena's AA, then known as the FU, on Edge through several tables at Unforgiven 2006. Although they would revisit this feud in 2009, it truly defined my early years of watching Monday Night Raw and never ceased to leave us fans entertained and clamoring for more. Number 8. The Rock vs. Triple H. If one were to take a look at the careers of one Rocky Maivia and Hunter Hearst Helmsley, you would notice they run parallel to one another, suggesting they were destined to do this forever. Both started their WWE careers in 1995 and 1996 respectively. They would hold the Intercontinental Championship early in their careers before fans grew tired of their one-dimensional gimmicks. So they joined their own factions, evolving into much edgier versions of themselves and elevating up the mid-card scene. As members of the Nation of Domination and D-Generation X, their paths would cross over the summer of 1998 as they battled over the Intercontinental title, culminating in a classic ladder match at that year's SummerSlam. From there, they would assume leadership of their groups and eventually break away to the main event scene where they battled for the WWE Championship throughout the year 2000. Since their feud has ended in terms of between the ropes, there have been hints of it being revisited, especially in the build-up to WrestleMania 40, but time will only tell if this leads to anything. Number 7. John Cena vs. CM Punk. What makes Cena vs. Punk so fascinating is that it truly represented the WWE style of pro wrestling versus that of the independent style. CM Punk has always stood out from the rest of the roster, whether it is due to his appearance, work rate, or simply for being a disruptor who beats to his own drum. At this point in Cena's career, the WWE Universe considered his act to be stale and wanted something fresh. In the summer of 2011, reports claimed that Punk's contract was expiring, so it was interesting to see how the WWE capitalized on this by incorporating it onto its television program. The biggest moment of them all, of course, was the pipe bomb promo that addressed so many topics never addressed before. Name drops such as New Japan Pro Wrestling, Ring of Honor, Colt Cabana, and Brock Lesnar were all mentioned. There was a sense of realism in this promo that attracted many members of the audience. This would force the WWE to acquiesce to the demand of the fans as they began to push CM Punk. Punk would actually defeat Cena in their 5-star classic match at Money in the Bank before he would go on to becoming a main event player, thus holding the WWE title for 434 days. With matches such as this, their matches at SummerSlam 2011, Night of Champions 2012, and Monday Night Raw in February of 2013, there is no shortage of great matches. Number 6. Eddie Guerrero vs. Rey Mysterio. Now this one is a personal favorite of mine as it pitted two of the greatest Hispanic wrestlers of all time against one another. A rivalry that spanned the majority of 2005 as it began with Mysterio and Guerrero winning the tag titles at No Way Out in February. What followed next would become a memorable feud forever enriched in the mind of a young Jose as they would compete at WrestleMania 21, Judgment Day, the Great American Bash, and SummerSlam in what would all be good to great matches. Initially a feud built on respect would then become deeply personal for Guerrero as he could never get the upper hand on Mysterio. He became obsessed with the idea of not being able to defeat the masked luchador, so he resorted to heelish tactics and claimed to be the father of Rey's real-life son, Dominic. This twist added to a level of drama to their feud that would culminate in the ladder match for the custody of Dominic, where Rey would emerge victorious yet again. Finally, on an episode of SmackDown, Eddie would defeat his longtime foe in a steel cage match that would be the final time these two would ever face. Although it may have gone to a point where it became like a soap opera, this feud showcased two of the all-time greats in a program that is still talked about to this day. And hey, I wonder whatever happened to that Dominic kid though. Number 5, Triple H versus Shawn Michaels. There is just something about real-life friends being able to have the best rivalries. Perhaps it's because they know what makes the other tick, or maybe it's the level of trust that they have in one another. Whatever the case may be, Triple H became the first feud Shawn Michaels had upon his return to wrestling after a 4-year hiatus. What was meant to be a one-off became the start of a near 3-year story that saw the two battle in street fights, elimination chambers, 3 stages of hell matches, last man standing, and finally Hell in a Cell. Having the benefit of a strong foundation regarding the origins of this feud only helped enhance the quality of storytelling, as these two put on display many reasons why they are considered to be two of the very best. Number 4, The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. And you want to talk about two of the very best. These two personified arguably the most successful era in professional wrestling as they pushed one another to elevate their respective games. Main eventing WrestleMania 15, 17, and having one of the best matches of WrestleMania 19 only solidifies its place in this ranking. Not only is it the quality of their matches worth noting, but their work on the mic as well as the moments they provided, ensuring their legacies will always be connected. Austin's beer truck, Rock dumping Austin off of a bridge, and ridiculous selling of the stunner by The Rock will surely get any wrestling fan in a nostalgic mood. Plus, it helps to have the greatest wrestling package of all time, with Limp Bizkit's My Way serving as the main theme. Number 3, The Undertaker versus Kane. In what quite possibly be the greatest storyline device in wrestling history, who would have thought an undead zombie having to fight his half-brother who was exacting his revenge on said zombie for wanting to burn him alive several years earlier? I don't know about you, but when I think of wrestling and when it gets into supernatural phases, this is when I find it most entertaining. With forces such as The Undertaker and Kane serving as real-life comic book heroes and villains, how can you not be invested in their matches at WrestleMania 14 and WrestleMania 20? On top of that, they would even have the first Inferno match at 1998's Unforgiven event, but the build-up to their first encounter at WrestleMania 14 is what makes it number 3 on my list. As Kane would debut in 1997, assuring everyone that he would punish The Undertaker for what he put him through as kids, we as fans had no idea that this would influence the next 20 years of WWE television. Whether it was as foes or partners, these two would serve as the staples of WWE, demonstrating the appeal for long-term storytelling. Number 2, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Mr. McMahon. It's a tale as old as time, disgruntled employee versus their arrogant boss. This feud alone is responsible for a whole generation's worth of middle fingers, as the Stone Cold Steve Austin character reached superstardom due to the battles against Vince McMahon. Although they would have several memorable matches under their belt, it would be the many moments between these two that would propel it into what became must-see television. Fans tuned in each week to see how the Vince McMahon character would attempt to ruin Austin, but ultimately would be on the receiving end of a stunner. This would become the benchmark of what a babyface versus authority figure feud should aspire to become, and has not been matched since. And at number 1, Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels. A rivalry so real it would spill outside of the ring into the locker room. It has been well documented that in the mid-90s, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels were not the best of friends. In fact, there are numerous incidents that would help support this claim. Let's run down the list, shall we? Accusations of infidelity, attacks backstage, going off script when it came to promos, intentionally sabotaging a set storyline by feigning an injury, oh yeah, and a scheme that would see one side being screwed in their hometown of Montreal. This rivalry alone has so many ramifications that would follow it, as it would lead to the end of WCW, which could be another video essay in itself, as well as help usher a new era within the company, an era with a little bit more attitude. Nonetheless, when you have two of the best of their generation at odds, you're bound to have some sort of beef. but when it came to Hart and Michaels, they wouldn't make peace for nearly 13 years, and even that can't erase the memory of what I think is the greatest rivalry in WWE history. If you guys enjoyed my list, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more. Or, if you feel that I missed some other WWE rivalries, be sure to sound off in the comments below. For more pro wrestling content, be sure to check out the J Area podcast, or perhaps watch me react to some of the loudest crowd responses in WWE history.